Hello, hello, and welcome to another podcast. You can't handle the truth. This is becoming very nice. I see that, many of the people that are listening to this podcast, they seem to get along, and then they can handle the truth. It's funny enough to see that. So, what do I bring today? Well, I guess I will bring you some news about money. And there's a lot of good news and there is a lot of bad news out there, right? If you listen to my previous podcast, you will see that I dived deep within the idea of trying to find out what was money, and I came to the conclusion that no one actually knows when money was introduced to um, to humans, apart from a season, a very interesting season. But I didn't touch that because I want to keep that for perhaps a later podcast because it comes with a very well known family in the business, and it came later on in the time frame. So, but um, this is one of the favorite subjects for people, and it's money or crypto or the finance or the treasury and what's going on in the whole money shit show. And let me tell you, it's a big, big show, folks. So let's open our eyes to the problems with central banking. I think that's where we should start this one. Yeah, why not? And how some people out there that suddenly discovered Bitcoin as well. That's another amazing subject because more and more today money is being more um, connected to Bitcoin. And since they have been going down that Bitcoin rabbit hole, and some are trying to educate people on the nature of money and how for them um, Bitcoin seems like the savior. I'm not saying that I don't like Bitcoin. I like Bitcoin too. I just didn't went with the herd, and because I have my own ideas about it. I've been paying attention since 2016, to be honest. I've been paying attention, and I do remember, and when it hit like 20, um, then it reached almost. It came down almost like to zero or something, and I thought, it's gone. It was a good dream. We all dreamed that dream, or some of us dreamed that dream, but it's gone. And poof, then Bitcoin just came creeping back. And I remember when it hit the 6,000, I saw, I said to myself, yeah, it had a momentum behind of it. Um, so I decided at that point I would get some. I would get some. I just wanted to grab and see, but staying on the like more to the observance of all how it will play and what will be the evolution of this. So, but I missed, to be honest, I missed quite a bit of it. But I'm still happy. I'm still happy. I'm not gonna lie. I'm still happy that I got a few. So Yeah, let's talk about Bitcoin, because for the younger generation, I think we share similar concerns, and those are that we think the banks are ripping us off. And basically, they are ripping us off of our health and wealth as well. It's um, it's stolen money. So the idea of stolen money is because we go and work real hard, then we put our money into savings, and that's why I like when Robert Kiyosaki says that savers are losers, and why you why would you save money when they are printing it? Yeah, and I can see it makes sense to me what he's talking about, um and what I mean is that we receive very little to no education on the nature of money itself. Most mainstream curriculum in universities, its premise its premise on Keynesian economics. You may be asking, what the hell is that? What is a Keynesian economics? Well, let me see if I can tell you in simple terms. The Canadians believe that because prices are somewhat rigid, fluctuations in any component of spending, consumption, investment, or government expenditures cause output to change. If government spending increases, for example, and all other spending components remain constant, then output will increase. And as we know today, is basically a pseudoscience that exists just to justify the government's monopolization and printing of money. It's based on the inversion of economics. In economic reality, you must produce before you consume. But in Canadian economics, they say you can spur production by increasing consumption. So that's this whole idea of, you can print money to put ROEs over people's heads, or print money to feed people. And this is total nonsense. So we print money, we give people money, and the economy would heal itself. We fix problems by printing money. And then, when you understand that the printing is the core of the whole matter, and there's a lot of mystique put around this topic, it's one of these strange topics where people like to use big words and advanced financial jargon to try and obfuscate the true nature of money. Um, but I will try to explain this by way of an analogy. So, printing money is stealing, you see. You're just stealing the purchasing power from savers, and you are transferring that purchasing power to whoever that can access the newly printed money. First, this is called also inflation and taxation. That's all that goes on. So essentially, you could say it like this: you're either stealing by through purchasing power loss, so people are paying for this in the form of price increase, or even if prices go down when there is money printed, they're going to have foregone price deflation. Prices should have gone down even further had there not been money printing. So you're either paying for it as price inflation, or foregone price deflation. But there's no equitable benefit whatsoever to the printing of money. It is purely a transfer of purchasing power from savers to those who can print money. And so, a good analogy here might be this old thing here of true capitalism prices should be coming down, not going up. Like when a farmer goes out there and plants cabbages, if he produces a lot of cabbages, the price of the cabbage comes down, not up. So every time I see or read or hear the word inflation and people going on the platforms and blaming the capitalists, it's really not the capitalists. No, the problem it's the Marxists. When you could actually go to central banking, which is the currency counterfeiting cartel that prints all this money and uses the insidious tax of inflation to confiscate people's wealth. And if I remember correctly, this is actually a measure number 5, if I'm not mistaken, in the Marx 1848 manifesto to the Communist Party. So it's no oh my God, here I go again, exaggeration to say that the central banking is monetary communism or monetary socialism, to be more general. It's an aggression against the private property of savers. So it's an anti-capitalist institution to the core. Now, to try and demystify this a little bit, let's see if I can do that. Anyone that's ever owned a stock or a public equity or a stock certificate in a company, that stock represents your share of that company's capital, right? Bear with me. So a company has certain plant, equipment, IP, whatever the assets on the balance sheet of that company net. To the liabilities, you have the equity. That is what the equity certificate or the stock certificate represents, is your share of that company's capital. Now, no one in their right mind would ever want a quote unquote elastic stock certificate that some other shareholders could print new shares of and dilute. They could just arbitrarily increase their ownership in the business and simultaneously dilute your ownership interest in the company's capital stock. That would be nonsense and insane. We would not tolerate that whatsoever. Yet, in the money, you could think of money as like a stock certificate. And the share of global capital, it represents a fractional share of how much purchasing power you have. So, how much power you can go out to purchase the goods and capital available in the global marketplace. If one quote unquote shareholder can print themselves new shares of money to enrich themselves and debase you, that is the same as having an elastic stock certificate that one shareholder class can print themselves new shares and debase another. So my point being is the anti-capitalistic is nonsense. Like, to have capitalism, you need ownership and strong private property rights. Printing money is a violation of private property rights. That's like somebody coming and taking part of your lot away. Let's say exactly um, one third of this acre. Now it's mine. That's one of the reasons I don't buy stocks, to be honest, because they print them all the time. I mean, they just printed more shares of stocks so we could sell more shares. That's all done legally. What I'm saying with the printing of money is that it's not proportionate whatsoever. There's one group that's expanding their ownership and they are diluting another group. So central bank shareholders expand their purchasing power at the expense of savers or users of the currency. It's a totally rigged game. So again, let's touch the Cantillon effect. Cantillon effect. I don't know. It's Mr. Cantil, Cantillon. Cantillon. I think it was his name. The Cantillon effect and its implications on wealth distribution. You may be asking, what the hell is she talking about the Cantillon effect? I will try to explain. Okay, so the Cantillon effect. I might not be pronouncing this correctly. It's and its implications on wealth distribution. You may be um, wondering, but if you do a quick research on Google, you will understand where I'm coming from. So the Cantillon effect is an uneven change in relative prices resulting from a change in money supply, which was first described by the 18th century economist Richard Cantillon, Cantillon, I don't know, who inspired political economists like Adam Smith and David Ricardo. Again, they are stealing our health and health. And Robert Kiyosaki says something very interesting. The closer you are to those who print the money, the richer you get. I wonder why he said that. Well, I wonder why, definitely. Um, One of the effects of Cantillon, it's exactly what I just described. Those who receive the newly printed money first or the earliest benefit at the expense of those who received it later or last. So as money enters broader circulation, prices start to increase. Goods and capital get bid up. So those that are buying it at low prices before that money enters circulation and bids up prices are benefiting. They're increasing their capital position at the expense of those that receive it later. So, this is a simple way of saying that this money printing is one of the primary means by which the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. If 99% of your balance sheet is assets, well, then those assets are being bid up and you are benefiting from price inflation to some extent. If 99 or 100 of your balance sheet is cash, or you're living paycheck to paycheck, or you live on a fixed income, you are being victimized in this scheme. So it's a regressive tax on the poor, basically. So I just want to be clear when I say the savers were losing and the rich don't work for money, and that your house is not an asset because all of it was designed to take your wealth from you. And that's why I stay away from all of this. You see, I don't engage. I did in the past. I fell for it in my 20s, and I understood the hard way that yeah, the game is rigged, you know. And if you have no education about it, and if you don't know the rules of the game, yeah, you are a victim. Honestly, you are a victim. So um, let's see if I can explain through my perspective why the Bitcoin fever seems to be affecting the younger generation more than me. It seems that the only good news on money nowadays is surrounded by Bitcoin, like the people's savior. And for me, to be honest, I see it as the new illusion. I would say, welcome to the club, but basically, the ultimate form of ownership or the ultimate form of money that has this idea in Bitcoin is that everyone gets Bitcoin at the price they deserve. Yeah. So it's very complicated. It's hard to understand. You need to understand a little bit about a lot of things to really start to get your head around Bitcoin. And just take all this with a grain of salt and a dose of humility. Even those that have their head around Bitcoin still don't fully understand it. Perhaps that's just my interpretation. But once you start to understand how the technology works and the implications are truly staggering and profound and hard to think through, but what is it? I mean, if private property is the power for an owner to control an asset independent of anyone else's actions, that you can fully control an asset, then I would say Bitcoin is the strongest form of private property that human beings have ever had. And the reason I want to go into this is because there's a whole a whole new broader dimension to Bitcoin. I never realized, and the thing about this is that young guys or gals who already know much more than me from what I actually know, it seems like those guys they grew up in it, and from what I understand is the young guys and girls who are gonna take Bitcoin to a whole nother level. That's my opinion. Just because the old girls and gals like me, we are saying that the governments are going to come after you guys. Yeah, that's I don't see it playing out differently, to be honest. Um, but I see that that's what Bitcoins was designed for. You know, this is like money wrapped in military grade encryption designed to be unstoppable. So there's no conceivable way to stop it. And there is a guy called Jeff Booth. He makes a point about Bitcoin being much bigger than money. And I believe that what he's saying is true. I think we are going to reach a point in the digital age that it will be the end of digital monopolies and censorship by virtue of having an unstoppable communications protocol built on top of Bitcoin. That's one of the most exciting dimensions of it. And according to Jeff, it gets more fair. So money via Bitcoin is just the start. So we are not saying you should buy it or not buy it, but why you should at least entertain the idea. You should study it, and that's what I've been doing. And the more I study it, the more I actually get confused by it. I can see that it's a lot bigger than just Bitcoin. You know, I have my own ideas and I have my own construction around it and I have my own like um conspiracies around it. But again, I it's like I paid to see it. That's my position in the game with Bitcoin. And what I also see is that most people that involves themselves with Bitcoin, what they want is also to improve the world. They don't focus their energies on destroying the old, but rather they focus their energies on creating the new. And that's one of the things that really fascinated me into digging more around Bitcoin. Not just I'm talking Bitcoin, but there is three. So Bitcoin is one of them, and there I have two more, which I look into them, and I have some of them, just because I don't know, something inside of me pushed me to go in and acquire them. Don't ask me why I do those things, because I feel like okay, I have to, and that's pretty much how I do it. That's pretty much how I roll in this construct. So yeah, those are the two that I see that probably there is one of them that I'm more inclined that is going to be um, playing a big role, more than Bitcoin, to be honest. But okay, I'll leave that for another chit chat. Yeah, but definitely the idea of creating new, um, that is one of the main reasons that got my attention into Bitcoin. And I think that's what Bitcoiners are doing. Like, obviously, some of us go through, and some of the people that go through my podcast, they see that I try to shine light on topics that makes us think and that share light and also facts and my own truth on the subject. And the central banking and the corruption of money, it's one of them, right? Um, but most of the energies in the Bitcoin community are being devoted towards building an alternative system, one that has fair and equitable and unbreakable rules. This is the key thing as we human beings have to engage with one another through this game play. Economics is a game, right? And money is the points we are scoring, basically. We want those who satisfy the consumer wants better, faster, cheaper, and we want to live nicely, each one of us. So the more points you score, right, apparently is the way you get measured in the game. And what we don't want is people that steal from one another to get rich, because that incentivizes theft and coercion and etc. So, in my view, Bitcoin and all this digital cryptocurrencies, by virtue of being money that's really hard to steal and impossible to inflate, I think so far. Like the tilt, the incentive landscape towards cooperation and away from coercion, this is why it's a very massive ideal, and it changes human behavior by changing the fundamental bedrock of incentives. So Bitcoin is produced um, by a process that they called mining. And by way of a simple analogy, you could think of it, this is like a lottery system where basically you plug in a piece of equipment, and they call it an ASIC miner. And this is an application specific integrated circuit. And let's see, yeah, if I can, an explanation of Bitcoin mining. So the Bitcoin, the halving process and its economic implications. It's a mining machine that does one thing, and it mines Bitcoin. It participates in this global lottery. You put energy or electricity into that machine, and it's casting a lottery tickets. They call these hashes. These are basically guesses trying to solve the Bitcoin mining puzzle, which resolves itself every 10 minutes. And the winner of that global lottery is awarded the newly issued Bitcoin every 4 years. So the Bitcoin algorithm cuts that new supply, that newly produced Bitcoin in half. So every 10 minutes, right? Now it's six, and a quarter Bitcoin are produced every 10 minutes. I think it's about um, it's I think it will be about May this year that it's sort of probabilistic date around May 2024, that amount of newly issued Bitcoin every 10 minutes will go down by 50%. So the three and a quarter Bitcoin every 10 minutes, what this does is it cuts the natural selling pressure on Bitcoin by half. So Bitcoin miners are typically having to sell this Bitcoin that they are awarded to cover their operational and capital expenditures. However, when the newly issued Bitcoin is cut in half, that selling pressure is reduced by half. So if you hold demand constant, this is the magic of Bitcoin. Price number go up, technology, as we say, every 4 years, the natural selling pressure is reduced by half. So if demand is constant, this puts upward pressure on the price, and we tend to see new all-time high Bitcoin prices roughly 500 days after the halving. So expect to see new Bitcoin all-time high price roughly 500 days after May 2024, which is another interesting. That's why I see that this Bitcoin has so much layers to it. But yeah, I will leave that to another podcast. The month of May, it's very interesting. So as I was saying, this is why I want you guys to have a look into this, because a lot of people that get into Bitcoin, they get into it to make money, and they do that when the halving comes. Now, I think that Bitcoin is roughly around, I would say 40,000 per coin. I'm not too sure, so don't quote me on that. And but there isn't obviously many people that have 40,000 laying around, but they can just buy one. Well, if you have 40,000, you just buy one. Yeah. And from what I understood from Jeff Booth, what makes Bitcoin more fair for everybody? Let me say that again. So, even if the price of Bitcoin is going up, according to people like Jeff and all this stuff, the younger generation, the price of Bitcoin going up is more fair than the price of gold going up, or real estate going up, or stocks going up. I would first say I agree that it is obviously the Bitcoin price that draws in most people. It's oh, this thing is all over the place, and the price is way up, the price is way down. So most people come in for the volatility of the of Bitcoin. They come in and they try and make money. However, those that study Bitcoin, they tend to stick around because they want to remake the money, and they want to start to see how problematic the current the current monetary paradigm is, and how Bitcoin can fix so many things, financially, ethically, etc. You see, and that is the key for them to stick around. And most of these people that truly understand Bitcoin, that is their main reason. Yeah, I definitely stick around, but it like just I want to see how far does this go. I want to see how will this play out, and I want to be able to tell my story if there is any. But again, let's see what will happen. Um, but to become a Bitcoin advocate or a Bitcoin proponent is not only to allowing you to advance your own personal interests by giving this very strong form of private property, but it's also letting you participate in this kind of humanitarian movement, which is creating an alternative to central banking, which is the number one institution of theft and tyranny in the world. So, according to Jeff's idea, each Bitcoin having each make each Bitcoin halving makes Bitcoin more fair. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think that's what he's alluding to. There is that people that hold Bitcoin, some they tend to sell in bull markets, and there are way that are way in the green. Um, they will sell some of their stack for dollars, obviously, during the bull market. And each bull market, you see Bitcoin become more widely distributed. So Bitcoin ownership becomes more widely distributed in bull markets. And then when you have bear markets, people go back into accumulating, they go back to the accumulation phase. So I think that's probably what is what Jeff was getting at, that and that's not the same with other commodities, because in other commodities, as price increases, production increases. But as I said earlier, with Bitcoin, it has a perfectly fixed supply. You cannot increase the production of Bitcoin. You see, it always adheres to this fixed diminishing supply schedule that goes to zero in, if I'm not mistaken, 2040. So Bitcoin's Bitcoin is the only asset in history where price does not influence the supply. Uh, the supply insurance, and that's a key point. And I think it's important for everybody to study it, because uh, that's my perception, and my perception is there will be a lot of people who are going to make a lot of money, and at this time, because there's a scarcity. Scarcity. Yeah, I said it right. And there is a whole another dimension of entrepreneurs, basically young entrepreneurs, who will become the new federal bank. That's just my opinion. I believe that they will be building money on top of money, and making more money for the rest of the world, and rather than a centralized, controlled of the bank. And I think that's what it will happen, at least in my opinion, and from my own observations. Also, my perception of this would be that Bitcoin is a technology that enables capitalism, a more intensive form of capitalism. So yes, any market economy that has a central bank money is one half of every transaction. If that money is stealing from you, then at best you're 50%. We've never been anywhere near a free market anywhere, like with central banking that has existed. But how could how can the price going up make the world better? I couldn't get this. It's very it's very weird, actually. And it's Bitcoin is all about putting an end to the stealing. It's a form of property that's very hard to break. Again, it cannot be inflated. So central banking deft through money printing sort of goes away as people figure out. They can store, and they can store their purchasing power in Bitcoin and not get scammed by inflation anymore. And as more people figure this out, maybe that will make a difference. And that saying that you have to go to school to get a job, to work hard, to save money and put your money into the banks, yeah, people will start to see that that's just a scam, And on the other side, the coin, um, the Bitcoin from going to bit to, going from the Bitcoin side, the prices go up, um, and then coercion becomes less profitable. You know, the state loses its grip and its ability to intervene in the affairs of individuals. So that, I think, it's the humanitarian dimension, and the shift that probably is being it's going in people's minds. There's obviously a self-interested capitalistic dimension. We we want to preserve the purchasing power, and we want to get across time. We want to get rich or wealthy or whatever. But again, the flip side of that is you want that for everyone, right? We want a level playing field for all market participants and to play on. So maybe this is an utopia. I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking jibber jabber, but that's what I would like to see. You know, if we have to focus our energy on something, let it be to a level playing field. You know, and so that we can focus our energies on solving other um, other things, other focusing on our creativity, using our imagination to solve other type of things that we have going on here in this plane, and yeah, stop the stealing and the lying and the killing. You know, all of these things, there are anti product activities, and towards a more cooperative and productive productive activities as a species in equality, right? Well, again, equality. This is a tricky word. Equality of outcome doesn't exist, right? Humans are only equal in the grave, and yeah, uh, deep down in there, but not on top. On top, you can see the not equality even so. But basically, obviously, we don't want that equality of opportunity. Also, one that doesn't exist. We all are born in different places, different times, different genes, different skills, different life paths, etc. You know, but equality of opportunity would only exist perhaps in the matrix, right, where we were all test tubes babies acting like batteries probably. So perhaps the only actual equality that really matters is the idea of a level playing field, fair rules. Any game you play, that everyone plays by the rules. If someone doesn't play by the rules, they are a cheater, they become an outcast. Yet, this is the game of economics. We don't have that. We have social institutions that favor the insiders and disfavor the outsiders, specifically the central bank. And so I think that Bitcoin is the embodiment of that idea, or it could be the embodiment of that idea. At least that's my vision on that. But to have this idea that all humans are actually equal in the eyes of Bitcoin, and it doesn't matter your race, creed, color, it doesn't matter. It's totally agnostic to human affairs. It it just does what it does. New block every 10 minutes, supply cap of 21 million, and it doesn't care who uses it or how they use it. It's just fair. I think it's equitable economy, and that is very crucial for human beings. And this is how I see that Bitcoin could make high value investment accessible to everyone, including the John Doe. But you may be thinking, okay, but how does the John Doe guy who's making 15 an hour, how does he afford a coin? Well, that's where it comes the interesting part. Well, Bitcoin is divisible into 100 million subunits, and those are called the Satoshis. So you can buy 100 millionth of a Bitcoin. You can sign on with any number of Bitcoin exchanges. And it's also becoming now with the ETFs. You can access it through your brokerage accounts. I mean, it's just becoming more and more mainstream, but typically, depending where you live in the world, you look up at a Bitcoin exchange, or if you have an existing brokerage account, you could look at Bitcoin ETF. If you have any account that trades stocks, you can buy something like a micro strategy, which is basically a proxy for Bitcoin at this point. So there's more and more ways to access it for investors, and you don't need to own a whole coin. You can own a fraction, so you don't need the $40,000. You see. And yeah, Satoshi, as I said before, is a million millions of Bitcoin. So every Bitcoin is divided by 100 million. Every Bitcoin equals 100 million sats or Satoshi, and Satoshi is the name is like paying homage to the name of the inventor of Bitcoin, who is Satoshi Nakamoto. To be honest, I have no idea who that is. But the best theory I've heard about it is that it was a collaboration between Hal and Nick Szabo, and sort of makes sense to me uh, because they say that some of the writings of Satoshi have been compared to Nick, and they said like it's sort of like his writing style. So for people that don't know, you can Google on Google. You can ask who's Nick Szabo, and it will tell you that he was a cypherpunk and computer scientist. And yeah, so I think it was not mentioned in the white paper, but a lot of the projects he worked on were sort of the predecessors to Bitcoin, and there were many attempts at the anonymous digital cyber prior to Cybercash, that prior to Bitcoin, like 30 years of attempts before Satoshi put the right pieces together. I really have no idea. It's pure speculation, and the best thing Satoshi ever did, if he exists, is was disappearing, because I think he cemented the decentralization narrative of Bitcoin. Now, again, I'm not recommending it, but I'm saying that you might want to consider to either owning some, or um, to learn about it. Okay, to learn about it, see what you make of it, and I don't know. In my own vision, to be honest, the reason I'm bringing this up is because fiat currency, like the U.S. dollar and the pound and the peso and the yen and the euro, uh, in my vision, they are all in trouble right now. You know, the debt is too high, so you may want to consider at least owning Satoshi. I'm just saying, you know, that's that's what I have to say. I can't say that this is the right thing or that. No, it's just another it's just another game. To be honest, I have no fact. The only fact in the matter is that I got some. That's the only fact in the matter I have, and I got some because I find it interesting at the time, and I seen all the buzz, and I was like, I don't, what the hell, what, what is this, you know? And yeah, I said, you know what, I'm gonna have a look. I'm gonna learn about it. I'm gonna see what is it. Like I said, I have two more, but um, I'm not. It's not that. Oh yeah, this is the savior. No, for me, it's not. It's another illusion. It's another part of the game. It's like if something happens and the entire system has to go through a reset. I see. This is me. I see that this could be the new monetary system. This could be the new way of playing the game. You know, for now, that's what they are saying. For now, they are saying that this is all in pro of the humanitarian situation, and this is all in pro of us coming together. Yeah, well, I don't put my hands on that fire. But again, whatever it is, let's see what's coming. So that's all for today, guys. I hope you have a good time and I hope you enjoy this one. And if you have more information or if you see things differently from my perspective, well, feel free to leave some comments if you want. If you don't, it's all fine by me. I'll see you guys on another amazing podcast. So far, so long. Farewell.